How is your relationship with your work in comparison to maybe a solo exhibition?
Yeah. Well, of course, when you do a solo presentation, you sort of have this ability to completely direct the experience, and so there's this very like hermetically, if you so desire, kind of like the seal around that space, and you can kind of create a condition as opposed to a presentation. And it's frankly that's my favorite way to work when possible. But and so sometimes I get a little anxious, if I'm being honest, about the way that things will function in a shared space. Maybe it comes from being an only child. I don't know. I'm not good at playing nice. No, but ultimately it's fine. I think like it just really depends. I mean, in this presentation, there's a really nice set of exchanges that happens through the materiality. I think in terms of like thinking about this sort of like there's like a sense of flatness between like the paper cuts and like there's conversations that happen. Like if I'm making a solo exhibition, I think about actually kind of goes back to your other question. I kind of think about making a solo show that feels like a group show, if that makes sense, because it allows you to sort of like draw these connections that feel as though they're absolutely disparate, but that actually connect very tightly. So when I'm working in that way, that's kind of my favorite way to sort of create an experience, because you kind of have this jarring sense of like odd bedfellows, like why are these things together? And then you kind of like, that's like a generative space. But of course that's less in your control if there's sort of a broader curatorial, kind of combination that you're less involved in. But those can also create like really super interesting new chemistries that like you wouldn't have imagined being possible. So of course it's like, it opens up this whole kind of opportunity. There have been times in the past where that's been a failure, I'll say, and can create some misunderstandings that aren't productive. I can't think of an example in particular, but just like group shows, in the millions of group shows, there's been times where you're like, oh, actually that combination created some kind of like conflict that actually is less interesting, or maybe creates some misunderstanding that's not good. But usually if you're working with someone thoughtful, it works out.
We love
capitalism.
Money. Yeah.
Oh, that old thing. Yeah.